Give me the hot sauce, Bill Buck. Give me the hot sauce. What are you doing, Dragic? Did you not get the memo? Derrick Rose can go upstairs. Woo!
Time for a brand new edition of the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the red-faced Timmy Whispers is not here. He's going down to Fort Myers to check on his palatial estate down there, his summer home that he never goes to. That was a good purchase for Timmy, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. He's offered it a few times to myself and a couple other friends, and we went down there and the door was locked.
Yeah.
Couldn't get in. We had to go to the hotel. And
He's always got the strange people prowling around. Too.
Yeah. You know what? It's a good investment though. Because we all talked about it. Our close group of friends have talked about getting places down there. We all have a place within a mile apart. So I don't know if I want to be that close to all these people, but be in the vicinity, Mark.
That's
but
the ideal retirement.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to be that close to these guys, but we call ourselves the Hangover Crew Boys. So I don't know if I want to be so close to these guys. Like maybe within 5, 10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
But like living next door, hey, gotta borrow some sugar, some laundry detergent. That's a little bit too extreme for me.
Speaking of Timmy Whispers, he's not here today, but his spirit lives on. I know a lot of people had fun with our talk about his messing up the pizza order last week.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, in the spirit of Timmy Whispers, the pizzas arrived a little while ago, and one of them has half green pepper. I don't know how that happened. I guess it's our guy, Dangerous D. Just
somebody's going to get a pink slip, all right? I don't know how many times I got to keep telling these people, listen, the talent is us right here, okay? What we want – everybody's going to get, okay?
Right.
So we want it pretty simple, America. Make one pepperoni sausage, or if you want just one pepperoni and then one sausage, great. If you want one cheese, great. But leave the peppers, the olives, all the spinach, all that stuff off of it. Come on, man.
I hope it wasn't Moretti's playing a cruel joke on us.
Oh. You know? No, Moretti's wouldn't do that. Moretti's that's my place, man. I love Moretti's. They're not a sponsor, but Moretti's, if you want to sponsor us, we're more than welcome to take you. Since we've been eating your pizzas lately. We were Lou Malnati's guys, and then we had to change on that. We had to skip on that for a little bit, but right now we're Moretti's.
Hey, we got a special treat coming up. Stacey's former teammate, Will Purdue, is going to join the show in just a few minutes. We'll get his take on all the Bulls' summer moves, what to look ahead in the upcoming season, and what's going on in the Olympic tournament. Speaking of which, we're down to the quarterfinals now. The United States plays Brazil. We're taping on a Monday evening. The game is on Tuesday. I don't really see any way they can beat them right now, unless they have a really awful shooting night.
Well, I mean, there's some teams that can give them some problems. I mean, they're not unbeatable. They should win the whole thing, but they're not unbeatable. They have some flaws in their game, and there's some kind of turmoil inside. Guys playing time. People are starting to come out and talk about playing time, so that could be a deterrent. They get past Brazil. I see them beating Brazil, but they may face Serbia, I think, or Australia, the winner of that game, and those two teams could give the USA problems. But I see the finals really being Canada and the United States, and Canada definitely. And Germany. Germany could squeak. Good. Germany could squeak in there, man. They got to play Greece. It's going to be Germany or Canada in the finals against the U.S.
Yeah, Dennis Schroeder turns in like the second coming of a young Chris Paul when he plays in this tournament.
I'll tell you,
really tough.
He's really tough. But then also Franz Wagner is a big reason why they're so good as well. They got the Wagner brothers. I mean, they've got some really young talent over there. Germany's got some really good players. You got Daniel Weiss over there, who's a very good shot blocker, rebounder. They got NBA guys over there, and so it'll be a good matchup. I don't think they have enough to beat the U.S., but they played them pretty close when they had that, in the prelim game.
What'd you think about the 3-on-3? The United States got bronze in the women's tournament, but the men got knocked out. Come on,
we can do better than that.
Yeah,
seriously. Yeah. We can do better than that. Go over to the 3-on-3 tournament, Ice Cube's 3-on-3 tournament. Get the three best players like ISO Joe. Go get three of those kind of players over there and send them over there. They'll win the gold medal easily. There's some better players. There's better players than what they sent over there.
Yeah, did you see Ice Cube challenge the winner of the gold medal to come over and play?
Yeah, and he should because you got ex-NBA players over there. There's some talented guys playing in the big three 3-on-3 contest. And I put Joe out there, ISO Joe, against anybody. Jimmer Fredette, he got hurt like the second game, and then he went downhill after that. But you have to have size. You got to have at least guys should be about 6'6", 6'7", and bigger if you're gonna play on a 3-on-3 contest.
Yeah, there's some guys in the Ice Cube's 3-on-3 that have just retired recently, and they would be a handful for anybody on these Olympic
Oh
teams.
yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean,
Beasley is
Beasley.
tearing it up.
Send Beasley over there. He should have been over there.
Yeah,
Beasley
I
would have
know.
killed him.
Yeah.
But again, you picked a bunch of guys that no one knows. Jimmer Fredette, will spend a half a second in the NBA. Is a great shooter, but 3-on-3 is totally different. And so they're going up against guys who were former on the national team players, a little older players. So down, just wasn't really a good team to send over there. I think you got Rick Barry's son on there playing that has no NBA experience. Send NBA players over, just like you've been doing. Like I said, you get guys like Beasley over there who are unstoppable at any level. They could put 3 of the best players, all-star caliber players, off of any of those teams and send them over and they would have won.
The Olympics have been fun to watch. The United States leads in the medal chase, and I thought the men's 100 meters was unbelievable. Noah Lyles was losing the whole race, and he outleans him at the tape to win the gold medal, and the announcers got fooled. They called it for the guy from Jamaica saying he won it, and finally they realized, wait a minute, there's a photo finish, and then they realized that Noah Lyles had won the race, and that just shows you, you're racing for just under 10 seconds, but it's just what you do at the tape, and it's where the torso crosses the tape, not where your arm or your head.
Well, the Jamaican runner had his foot over the line, but he didn't cross the tape. And so Noah Lyles, at the last split second, leaned forward and ended up winning that race. I tell you, it had to be one of the closest races I've ever seen in Olympic history. There's like 5 guys that could have won that race. And Lyles had to come from behind, and he had an extra gear. Like you could just tell he kicked in an extra gear at the end to catch those guys, and it gave himself a chance to win.
Well, talk a little football before we bring Will Purdue in. The Bears won the rain-shortened Hall of Fame game. They beat the Texans 21-17. None of the starters played, but they may have found another receiver in his Colin Johnson, who caught a couple of touchdown passes.
Well, again, there's an opportunity for guys to step up, starters out. Here's guys trying to make the team. Here's Colin Johnson out there having an opportunity to catch some footballs. And again, your game is elevated when you see that receivers room and you see all these all-star caliber players in the receiving room, and then you're not, and you want to be one of those guys. You aspire to be, a DJ, and then you saw the contract he just got. That's inspirational to young receivers. And here's an opportunity. I get to play the whole game. There's not a receiver count. You're only playing 8 plays tonight if the starters are there. He got the whole game, and he made the most of it. He'll probably be on the roster.
Another guy who played well was the draft pick out of Missouri, Austin Booker, defensive end. He's a little bit light, but I tell you what, he's quick. He can make some moves. He can adjust quickly, and I think that he could be a guy that as the season wears on, he becomes more of a force as a pass rusher.
Well, where he's going to be most important now is special teams. He's going to be on the special teams right now. That's going to get his foot in the door. And then when he's able to work and, get stronger and get bigger, you see the tools that he has, being able to rush the quarterback is amazing. He's quick, good first step, good explosion, just has to get stronger. And this is where these guys like him make a name for themselves on special teams. They become special teams all-stars, and then they get an opportunity, after they've been here a few years, to get in the weight room, get stronger, get better technique with the technique they already have. And next thing you know, they become, all-star caliber players in the big leagues.
What you think of the new kickoff rule? We didn't see much of anything happen, but I think teams are trying to figure it out. And they're also, if they've got some strategy on how to bust loose the return, they're probably saving that for the regular season.
Yeah, this is like you said, you don't want to show everything. I don't know if I really like it. I like the traditional kick it off and give the offense a chance to score. I know they're worried about safety, but there's injuries all over the field. You still can get hurt. Doing this new kickoff routine, and I think that's what they were trying to do. Is they were trying to take away the injury factor.
Yeah, those high speed.
Yeah, the high speed.
40,
yeah, exactly.
40 yards downfield.
But you're still going to find those in the game. In a 4-quarter game anyway. Guy running from clear across the field trying to chase a play down. Gets nailed. Football is football. And you can try as hard as you can to try to make it safe as you can. But you're talking about elite athletes, man, going at a high level and then super speed, super strong. You're not going to be able to contain it very often.
Bears play their second preseason game this coming Saturday. It's a noon kickoff in Buffalo. Bills, of course, one of the better teams in the AFC. I imagine both teams will play their starters for the first quarter. Everybody's dying to see Caleb Williams in game competition. Hopefully we'll get to see him for a full quarter on Saturday.
Well, he needs reps. And, they also have to look at that offensive line because I still think we as much as they've done in the offseason to make their offense more, dynamic, you still have to address the offensive line. And that's going to be something people are going to be looking at. The media is going to be looking at. people are going to be looking at all year long. You got a rookie quarterback. Teams are going to have all kind of defensive schemes to try to put pressure on that rookie quarterback to make him feel uncomfortable there. And you got to have guys to protect him. He can't have as many sacks as Justin Fields had the last few years here. And Justin Fields was a great athlete, can run and get out of trouble, but he still took a lot of sacks last year with blitzes and different defensive schemes. And you don't want Caleb Williams to have to do that because he's not as big and as strong as Justin Fields is. He's a more pocket passer, but he can run. But you don't want him out there, as small as he is out there running around trying to get extra yardage with his feet.
So we mentioned we're coming at you on a Monday evening, the premiere of Hard Knocks, the HBO Max series chronicling the training camp. The Chicago Bears debuts tomorrow night. I can't wait to see it because they do such a good job with this. They follow them all around, not only on the football field, but in their personal lives. And to hear some of the stories about the Bears that maybe we haven't heard before.
Well, I've always loved this show since its inception, and it's always been. It gives you a look, it gives the fans a look behind the scenes, and into the days of lives of players. What they go through on a daily basis. Guys being injured, in training camp. How they have to try to get back from that. A guy who's on the verge of getting cut. He's got 1 foot making the team, 1 foot not making the team. And how hard that is for him and his family. What it's like for the families behind the scenes when they're, when their father is going out to football practice and going to training camp. He's away for, weeks at a time. The kids don't get to see him. And when they see him, what kind of reunion you have. So it's a really interesting piece. It's been a staple to pro football fans for a long time. I'm glad the Bears are on it.
And speaking of compelling television, I'm sure something that we'll probably see during the first episode of Hard Knocks, the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies featuring 3 former Bears. And I'll tell you what, the emotion of seeing so many of the 85 group of Bears at Steve McMichael's home as he was presented his blazer and they unveiled the bust. I mean, if that didn't tear you up, you don't have any emotions. I mean, that was
no, man. It was kind of like, it was an emotional thing because if you know Steve McMichael and what kind of player he was, how hard he played the game and the dedication that he did to put into that game to be the best that he could be, and being on that great 85 Bears team and all those players on that team who are in the Hall of Fame now. That's one of the greatest teams, at least one of the greatest defensive teams ever in the history of the game, and he was part of that. And to see where he's at now, battling this deadly disease, ALS, he's a shell of himself. And I was just glad that he was able, Mark, to be there to witness this, because a lot of times people pass away and then they get that honor.
Right.
I was so happy that he was there to be able to see it, to be able to experience it with all his former teammates and get the love from his teammates and his wife, who's been there from day one. She's really the superhero. The things that she's done and how she's had to pretty much nurse him the whole time, and she hasn't wavered not one bit. And she got his jacket and was at the Hall of Fame, and it's just remarkable what she's had to go through and the strength she's had to show everyone to make this happen.
And this honor is really long overdue. I mean, a lot of people think it's in conjunction with Steve contracting ALS, but when you look at his career stats, he's a defensive tackle, an inside guy. He's got over 100 sacks. I mean, This is a guy that should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago.
Well, if he was on any other team, he would have been. But the Bears had such a great defense. There's so many Hall of Famers on that defense that sometimes a player like him gets overlooked. But when you look between the numbers and you see how important he was, especially the sacks and against the run, when you can rush 3 guys and be able to go and drop into coverage and guard, and guard the receivers coming out of the backfield. You can rush 3 or 4 guys, and they're putting pressure on the quarterback. You don't have to blitz. Even though the Bears blitz, with Buddy Ryan,
right,
you didn't really have to blitz because those front 3 and 4 guys always put pressure on the quarterback, got the quarterback moving in the pocket, which enabled Wilburn Marshall and Singletary and these guys to come up and clean up everything. And it also kept those guys behind them, Otis Wilson, it kept those guys clean. See, when you don't have a good defensive front, that means running backs are able to get through and chip guys. Tackles are able to pull and get through and really, knock the linebackers out the way. Those front 4, Richard Dent and McMichael and Dan Hampton, I mean, those guys allow those linebackers to run and be free and make the plays all over the field, that those ooh and ah plays. Like, you watch those old games, you see him, Wilbur Marshall hit somebody, pick the ball up and run, 50 yards for a touchdown. When you got a good defensive line like the Bears had, those guys really help those linebackers.
Of course, Devin Hester, Julius Peppers also inducted on Saturday, and I thought Hester, who wasn't really a fan of public speaking, gave a really nice speech. You know, he mentioned in there that he's the first returner to go in, but not the last. He saluted some other great kick returners over the years, and I thought that he really gave a nice speech thanking all the people that made it possible for him and really blazing a trail for kick returners.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, one of the most dynamic kick returners of all time. I mean, every time he touched the ball, you just felt like he was going to break it, whether it be a punt, whether it be a kickoff return. I still remember the Super Bowl when he returned that kick back, and it was like,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and he's looking up at the scoreboard as he's running to the touchdown, and there's no one within 15, 20 yards of him. People don't really remember that, you know, he started off in Miami as a defensive back,
Right.
a cornerback. And then he moved to wide receiver and he played some offense a little bit. And he could have really been a really good dynamic wide receiver, but his value for the Bears was kick returning. He put them in great position. When he got the ball, Mark, you knew the Bears were always going to start off in good field position just off the kick return or the punt return. They're always going to start off good. So that's a luxury to have as a team, knowing that you got a guy that can, instead of taking the ball at the 20 to 25, you got a guy, you're starting your first possession at the 45.
Right.
You know, so now you don't have to go too far to score. So you don't see a lot of those guys anymore. Now that they're taking the kickoff, moving the kickoff, you know, return a little bit different now, you're not going to see anybody. That might be the last guy in this era that you see return kicks like this.
And in case you missed the ceremony, there was a special guest. Michael Jordan was at the ceremony in Canton, Ohio. He's good friends with Dwight Freeney, but Julius Peppers, a North Carolina alum, shouted him out during his speech, you know, saying the GOAT is here, the greatest of all time, who gave me a lot of inspiration. That was a cool moment as well.
Yeah, you know, the Carolina boys stick together. No matter if you play football, you play basketball. MJ's always been, you know, loyal to Carolina, you know. It's great seeing Julius Pepper because, like, all these guys were Bears. You know, I know he's probably going in. He went in as a Carolina Panther.
Yeah.
He easily could have went in as a Bear player. You know, so I know they were the first that drafted him. It's Carolina. You know, but I probably behind the scenes like, man, I wish I could go in as a Bear. You know, they got much more history over there. You know, but he went in and you know he was a great defensive. He was a hell of a basketball player.
Yeah,
a lot of people forget he was
yeah.
a hell of a basketball player and you know, a great defensive end. Athletic, could do so many different things, rush the quarterback, could drop into coverage. It was really fun watching, especially when he came here with the Bears.
So a salute to all the new inductees,
Salute.
the class of 24 in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. We're going to shift the discussion to the Bulls and the NBA coming up next as Will Purdue joins us. But first, I want to tell you about one of our great sponsors, our buddy Jeff Vukovic. When it comes to insurance for your auto, home, and business, make sure you contact the king of insurance, nationwide agent Jeff Vukovic. He will treat you like royalty. You can reach him at jeffvuk.com. That's jeffvuk.com. The phone number 847-825-4783. Give him a call and tell him your friends at the Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast sent you. And he's got the best jingle in the business.
Nationwide is on your side.
So a salute to the Hall of Famer of insurance, our friend Jeff Vukovic. Coming up next, Will Purdue. Lots of NBA and Bulls talk. Coming up next on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Gimme the Hot Sauce rolls on. It is now our pleasure to welcome in a good friend of the program, Stacey's former teammate with the Chicago Bulls, our buddy Will Purdue. You watch him on pre- and post-game coverage with Kendall Gill and Jason Goff, and hopefully that group is going to be brought over to the new network. We're looking forward to their great work. And I got a chance to work the G League Elite Camp with Will. That was a lot of fun. I mean, we had to do some homework for that, didn't we, Will?
Yeah, we really did. I tell you what, there were some times where I just let Mark go and try to pronounce some of those names of those European players.
A couple of the guys made it in the league, though, so it's nice to see a success story of a guy, you know, beating the odds and getting a chance not only to play Summer League, but to make a roster.
You know, it's one of those things, like you and I were there. Really, the only other people that are there are their significant others, or, you know, all the general managers and coaches, and that's it. And you got to find a way to generate your own energy. But it's an opportunity. And as you talked about, Mark, you know, some of these guys took advantage of that opportunity, and that's why they continue to do that, because you're trying to find that diamond in the rough.
Did you guys see any diamonds in the rough there?
Yeah, I mean, there were some big guys I thought had a chance to play in the league, and I saw that Enrique Freeman was playing in Summer League. He did a nice job. You know, the guards kind of washed out, though. Boogie Ellis was there from USC.
For USC.
Yeah, he scored a lot, but you know, he was playing in Summer League, but he was coming off the bench. So it's interesting that a lot of these guys who are 5-star high school players, and they think they're going to, I'll play 1 year in college, I'll go right to the league. Boogie Ellis was in college for like 5 years, and he still hasn't made it. It just shows how many good players there are competing for these spots.
There's not a lot of spots. And when you're coming out now, unless you're like a lottery pick, you're not guaranteed anything, and so it's harder for these guys to come in. For like when me and Will were coming in the league, there were a lot of older guys, so there was always spots for draft picks come in, first round picks come in. But now, man, I mean, they're getting in younger and younger, and then you got guys that they're invested money in that might be playing in the G League that are going to come up and play, year 2 that they're expecting big things out of. So spots are hard to come by, man. It's not as easy to get to the NBA as it used to be.
Will, one of the guys, too, that did well in Summer League is Blake Hinson from Pittsburgh. He was playing for the Lakers Summer League team. He was hitting a lot of three-point shots, so they may have found a diamond in the rough for the back end of their roster. So it's good to see some of these success stories. And as you mentioned, that's why they're going to continue to have these camps, because they want to get everybody in one building with all the scouts and GMs that can see them compete against similar players and kind of weed out, who's the legitimate prospect and who's the guy and may have to either play in the G League or go overseas or just get on with their lives.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up. I'll bring up a guy who has definitely taken advantage of the G League, and Scottie Pippen.
Oh, yeah. He's been good.
His situation, I mean, he left Vanderbilt, I remember he put his name in the draft the first year, didn't get a lot of response, went back to Vanderbilt, then decided after his third year, okay, I'm coming out. And people ask me, well, what do you think? Is he going to make it in the league? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure he really improved, but what he did do was go to the Lakers G League team and took advantage of that and, got himself some money with the Lakers. Then he got himself a contract with Memphis. So, he's taking advantage of that situation. And I wouldn't be surprised. Do I think he's ever going to really play a lot? Probably not. But now he could be that guy. I played with a guy by the name of Brad Lowhouse in San Antonio.
Yeah.
I think Brad played 13 years in the league with 12 different teams.
Yeah.
But he got 13 years in the league, but with 12 different teams. But as Stacey now knows, he's got in that as, I think everybody knows he hit that magic 10-year mark. So he's got lifetime benefits as far as health goes. He's got the pension, he's got everything else. But man, I couldn't imagine moving 12 times throughout your career.
Yeah.
I think Scottie Pippen could be that guy, because I think he'll just constantly find a niche somewhere when they need somebody. He gets signed, he gets guaranteed contract, he goes for a year, and then he keeps bouncing around, but he'll find his way to stay in the league. And that's, to me, that's a success story. You may look at their numbers and there's nothing to brag about, but to me, that's a success story. That's truly a guy making the necessary sacrifices, just to play the game he loves.
And we're talking about Scottie Pippen Jr. for all the folks out there, not Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
He's not making a comeback.
Not coming, he's done.
Scottie Pippen Jr. is about a 6-foot guard, but he really played well in the summer league.
They did. Let's switch gear. Let's talk Bulls, Will. What have you thought about the Bulls youth movement and the direction they're going with the team right now with all the young players they got, starting with Josh Giddey coming over from Oklahoma City? They made that trade. DeMar DeRozan goes to Sacramento. Talk a little bit about what you thought from the outside looking in, the moves that they made.
Well, I tell you what, Stacey, I've been very happy with what they've done. I think first and foremost, just, that last press conference that Arturas made or had and just said, we have to make changes. I think it's going to be, from a win-loss standpoint and the record, I think it's going to be a long 2 years. But as I've continued to talk to people about this team, I've had more people now ask me about this upcoming season already, and it's only August, 5th?
Yep.
I had people asking me about last year's team leading up to last season, because I think we all could sit here and say we pretty much knew before the season even started what the outcome was going to be, because it was the same team as the year before. A couple minor changes, but for the most part, the core was the same, and we knew how they were going to try to play, even though they went to Nashville, to try to change that. Now I keep talking to people about the youth movement. I love bringing in Josh Giddey because I think he's a taller, bigger Lonzo Ball, quite honestly. And I love his vision. He does get a little sloppy with the basketball occasionally. He does have to step up and work on his 3-point shot. But I love the fact that when you talk about putting him on the floor, you're now in a position where Kobe can technically be your 2 guard, P. Will as a 4. The one thing I've noticed about Patrick Williams, if he knows he's going to get some touches, he's really active on the offensive end. He's moving, he's running, he's cutting, he's slashing. I think just unfortunately when he was out there with, you know, uh, with DeMar and with Zach, he knew he wasn't going to get a lot of touches. So a lot of times he was just standing around. And I've had numerous conversations with his agent over the probably the last 8 months, specifically about the progress he was making with, after his injury. And we all know that, he's playing well in the summer, but I truly expect to see a big leap from him now, because if he doesn't do it now, I don't think he's ever going to do it. And talking to his agent, I think that, he realizes that. But I just love from the youth standpoint of the team that you can actually put out there. I don't think they're ever going to tell us that they're rebuilding or they're tanking or whatever it is. But I honestly feel like if this team stays healthy with these young guys, they might actually, unfortunately, maybe is the best way to put it, put themselves in a position, for a play-in spot, quite honestly.
Yeah. And that would be good. It would be good in one sense, but for what that draft pick coming up in 25 will, and a chance to get Cooper Flagg, number 1 pick in the draft, and there's probably 10 other kids that are franchise-changing players in that draft. If the Bulls and this young team just gets to the play-in game, that takes him completely out of the opportunity to get one of those changing guys.
Well, I think that unfortunately that kind of puts them where they usually have been, 7, 8, 9 in the lottery. Because what is it? I think Mark could probably clarify this. I think this is right, but the teams with the 4 worst records have the best chance to get the number 1 pick, I think, at 13%. Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, it's all even for the bottom 4, right?
But unfortunately, as the Bulls stand right now with this current roster and youth, there are 4 teams that are not as good as the Bulls.
Oh, easily. Yeah, there's 5 teams in the East that are worse than the Bulls.
And you just hit it on the head. So all of a sudden, you talk about, listen, this will be interesting to see, how Billy handles this. Because honestly, I'm looking forward to watching these guys play. Is because when you talk about a lineup of Giddey and Kobe and Io and P. Will, who's the cat they got from Indiana?
Jalen Smith.
You're talking about this could really be, a team that could really run up and down the floor and score a lot of points. Now, we don't know what they're going to be like on defense, but they could be really fun to watch. But that's also, they could be fun to watch, but not win a lot of games. But as we talked about, probably win enough to not be one of those bottom 4 teams.
Yeah, you mentioned some players. You did mention Zach LaVine, and I reposted some video on X yesterday. He's working out in L.A. with some guys. I think he's at Loyola Marymount, and it's just pickup ball. But it looks like he's got his explosion back. He's jumping well, and Billy Donovan flew out to Los Angeles to meet with him, kind of smooth the waters over. If Zach is here for training camp and start of the season, he's going to start, which means the minutes for some of the young guys like Dalen Terry and Julian Phillips, they kind of disappear.
Yeah, listen, I think that we all will agree that considering everything that's happened, it's probably in best for not only the Bulls, but for Zach to part ways. It's unfortunate that it came to this, but I think it's best for all parties involved, because I think that it's better for Zach to be somewhere else. And I think it's just better for the Bulls for Zach to no longer be here, because I think Stacey will, maybe will second this. When you step on the floor with an individual that has asked to be traded, it's not that you don't like that person individually, you don't care about that person, but you ask yourself, is that guy really, what is he in a fourth quarter situation where now the Bulls are in a situation where they have the ability to win a game? Is this guy going to go rogue? I'm not saying this is all any going to happen, but this is kind of what his teammates are thinking in a situation. And that's just not a great situation for the team, for Zach, for his teammates. Because the one thing that I think Stacey will agree with, when you come out of a huddle and you look around, you want to feel like everybody's on the same page. Everybody's there for the same reason.
Yep.
And I'm not saying it won't be that way. And I think Zach's going to play nice and he's going to do whatever he can, to help the young guys, but also at the same time, I think him and his agent have been talking about this, hey, we need a 6-week window where we can step up and, you got to play really well. You got to be healthy. You got to prove that you're healthy. You prove that you got your shot. You can handle the ball. You can play defense, check all the boxes. And there's going to be a team or two. It only takes one.
Yep.
That is willing to take on your salary and make a trade because they feel like that, hey, this could be a guy, not necessarily the guy, but a guy that can put us over the top and then make us a contender.
Well, and also here's a problem too that we've talked about. Will, you've got Lonzo Ball coming back this year in some capacity. We don't know how many minutes he's going to play. We don't know what his role is going to be. But from what we've seen in the videos and what we've heard about his recovery, he's recovering very nicely and be ready to go when camp starts. Then you got Vooch that's still going to be here, a guy that can get you 18 and 10 every single night, which also impedes the growth of your younger players. If you're not trying to lose, you're not trying to win necessarily. When you have those 3 caliber players to pair up with some of these good young players you're looking at a Bulls team that's going to probably win more games than what we think.
Yeah, you're stuck in the middle still.
Yeah, you're stuck in the middle and you lose. The one draft that you don't want to miss is this draft coming up next year. You don't want to miss this draft. You want this 25. You don't want to be out of that party and be looking in from the outside like you're looking at a dog at a pet store wishing that you could get it, and they say it's already sold. You don't want to be that way. And I understand, listen, the way they've done it, Will, they haven't done it the traditional way where you build your team through a draft because they would take even longer than what they've done. What they've gone out and done, Arturas have done, is he went out and got young players that are under 25 years old, that have NBA experience and have somewhat success in the NBA, and he's put this team together with about 6 or 7 of these players have at least, 800 starts between the kids that we have, Ayo and Kobe, with the new guys that we brought in. That's a lot of freaking starts. That's a lot of experience for guys who are under 25 years old.
Oh, yeah, and that's why, I'm sitting here thinking about, I'm really excited to see, the jump that Kobe makes. Is it going to be leaps and bounds or is it going to be baby steps? So we talked about it on, pre-half and post a lot about Kobe was on the verge, in my opinion, of being an all-star. And the one thing he talked about is just having to adapt his regimen because of how many minutes he played, because he loved to go into the gym at night and get up shots. And I think that was part of the deal why we saw him at times struggle throughout, what did he go through, that 13-game stretch where he didn't hit a single 3 or something like that? But he was just so concerned about wearing himself out that he wasn't getting in all the shots that he normally does on off days and at night. So I'll be interested to see how he's adapted, his preparation. I think he'll be much better suited now to play 40+ a night if he has to. I don't think you'll see the roller coasters from his ability to, struggle to shoot from the perimeter like he has in the past. And, maybe this is a guy that this is the year he steps up and becomes a first-time All-Star. Think about this, about how unpredictable this team has been. Was it 2 years ago we were talking in the pregame about how we thought maybe Kobe was the odd man out because of how you saw some guys advance and Kobe was struggling and where does he go from here? And now all of a sudden this guy we're talking about could possibly be an all-star.
Well, that's a credit to him because he's putting so much work in the summer with his guy, Johnny dribbles too much, and he's really tightened up his ball handling and become a really good lead guard. You mentioned Josh Giddey earlier, and I've said this on past podcasts that I think the fans are going to fall in love with this guy. He got a bad rap because he couldn't make 3-point shots in the playoff series that they lost to Dallas, and all of a sudden he's a bad player. He's washed up at 21. I mean, here's a guy 6'8". He can get a defensive rebound, throw it ahead for easy buckets, and as you mentioned, he can give you some of the things that Lonzo used to give you with the easy buckets in transition. We didn't see as many of those in the last year or so because they were playing slower to accommodate DeMar and Vooch.
Yep. I'm going to mention 2 words to you, and I think Stacey will second this. Peter Patton.
Yep.
What's going to happen when he gets a hold of Josh Giddey? Think about where Io was when he stepped up and stepped into and started wearing a Bulls jersey to where he is now as far as his ability to knock down the 3. So you put Peter Patton with Josh Giddey, think about how that's going to improve his shot. Because I think all you got to do is start going down the list of, guys that he's helped. Obviously, Jalen Brunson's his main guy, but he's on the Bulls staff and he's with these guys every single day. And Io is a perfect example. And I think you start putting him with Josh Giddey, and all of a sudden you're going to start to see Josh Giddey's 3-point numbers start to creep up and get closer to 40%. But the other thing is, we haven't even mentioned, with Giddey, he's only got 1 year left on his contract.
Right. They're going to have to pay him.
Well, I mean, what this is, I don't think this is just a 1-year rental. That's what you do with the older guys.
Yeah.
I think you make this trade just because you're going to bring them in and let them go because you gave up a lot for them. That, it's when you talk about the heart and soul of this team, when you let Caruso go, the funny thing was, this is kind of funny. I had a couple people call me that were hot, that were people that I know that were general managers and part of other organizations in the Western Conference. They were like, what the F is Arturo's doing?
Yeah.
He's killing us. Does he not know how good this team already is? And now you throw Alex Caruso on there? Come on.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it was tough getting up AC, because we'd heard the stories that teams offered way more to get him. I was wondering, why the Bulls didn't get a pick with all the picks that Oklahoma City has. They've got all these picks at their disposal. And you think about if we could have got that 12, I think they had the 12th pick in the draft, this year's draft, we could have got a shooter in that the Connect kid that went to LA.
Yeah.
And that would have been a really good haul for the Bulls if we were able to get that pick. But they were able to keep that pick. But my thing with Josh Giddey is that, listen, we know what kind of player he is. He's an up-tempo guy, 6'8". He can do similar things that Lonzo does, but he's not the defender that Lonzo is. Lonzo Ball is an elite defensive player. And this is where the dilemma is going to come in, Will, and I keep just bringing this up, is that if Zoe comes back, he's missed 2 years. He comes back, and let's say they have him on a restriction. They say he's playing 20 minutes. That's it. He's going to play 20 minutes, 10 minutes a half, keep him at 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, he stays healthy, and he looks good. Those minutes are going to go up. There are so many scenarios that you can see being disruption on this team as far as the development of younger players. You got Zach. Zach's obviously going to probably be here at the start of the season. He's going to be here probably to the trade deadline. Now that pushes Kobe's opportunities down because now you got where you going to play Kobe. If you're going to play Josh Giddey at the 1, you got Zach at the 2. Now where do you play Kobe? Do you play Zach at the 3 like you did DeMar, which that's not his position? I mean, so there's all these different scenarios that could really cause some problems.
And then Io doesn't get any minutes.
And then Io's minutes are down. And Dalen Terry, who I think is going to make a big jump this year with the way he's worked this summer, he's going to miss some minutes. He's not going to get a lot of minutes. And you're not going to sit Josh Giddey on the bench. He's not going to come off the bench as your 6th man. No. That's just not going to happen. So now Zach comes in. You're envisioning Zach coming in. I can see Lonzo in the beginning coming off the bench, just getting his feet wet, but if he shows you that he can get out there and play starter minutes for like a 25 minutes, then he's going to end up being in the lineup. But that takes away from Kobe's ascension of being an all-star caliber player because you got Vooch still there. He's going to get 18 points a game. Zach's going to get 20-plus points a game. And then Kobe will probably be your 3rd scorer. Boy, I'd say that's some serious dilemma that Billy Donovan's going to have to look up this year.
And here's the funny thing is, Stacey, you're talking about, Lonzo, I've kind of just eliminated him from the equation because what he's attempting to do has never been done. in the league as far as coming back from that particular injury/surgery. But let's just hypothetically say that he does come back and you have to minimize his minutes. I think he's better served coming off the bench playing with whatever comes across as the second unit. Now, that could be one of those instances where, like, remember Bill Cartwright towards the end of his career when we were playing, we used to give Bill a hard time because we said you had to start because once you loosened up, if you come sit on the bench, it's over.
It's over. Exactly.
There's not enough time for you to get loose. So you're curious about the situation is if hypothetically Lonzo Ball is able to play, as you just pointed out, 20 minutes a game, is he better suited to play with the second unit because of his ability to facilitate? Because you're not bringing Josh Giddey off the bench. You just said it right there. And you somehow want to try to develop a rotation to where you're not stunning the growth of the younger guys. And that's kind of interesting, as you talked about younger guys that have played over 800 games.
Yeah.
But it's just a situation to where, there's a lot of options, which is a good thing. But that's what, to me, makes this upcoming season so interesting. And kind of, I want to watch and I want to see what happens. And as I talked about, a lot of people, are relieved to a certain extent that the Bulls have made this decision and going in this direction. But I think at the same time, they're willing to watch where they haven't been in the last 2 years because of the frustrations of being able to watch a team, because of how they played. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in training camp, what they do in the preseason games, what the rotation is going to be. But, there are options, and it's just, there are a bunch of different storylines that we'll be able to keep an eye on the whole season. It's not just like, I don't even know what the comparison is, but it's just not like there's it's a bad team. There's going to be talent out there. There's going to be, guys that have a bright future that are going to get significant minutes. So as you talked about, what's the improvement of Dalen Terry? I may not be as high on him as you are, but I'm hoping, I've seen the videos and on X and everything and on Instagram of the work he's been putting in and how he looks. But as Mark says, in pickup games. So there's just a lot of things to look forward to. And who knows? We've now seen the general manager, the president and Arturas talk about we need to make changes. They made a trade. They made a sign and trade. Maybe there's more to come as far as trades go in the situation of whether it's for draft picks, whether it's, other younger players that maybe some other teams that have given up on that they feel maybe has some talent that would fit in really good with this group. But I just think, it's hard to say when you're like, well, they might fight for a play-in game. But that's, to me, there's a lot of positives going into the season because of so much unknown. And that's probably over the last 2 years, what we didn't have was unknown. This upcoming season, there's a lot of unknown that I think could really be, could bode well for this team moving forward.
Yeah, Billy's going to have his hands full trying to figure out a rotation and doling out minutes to a guard-heavy roster. So, yeah, training camp's going to be fascinating. But you brought up Bill Cartwright, and that popped into my head. Stacey always says all the time that teams don't practice anymore. When you guys played, you practiced and you practiced hard between games. Mm-hmm. And now you really can't sort out, who are the best players, who can hold up under, the grind of an NBA season because guys aren't doing anything between games. I was curious, you and Stacey and Scott Williams were all young players in the league at the same time, fighting for minutes behind Bill at the center and power forward positions. What was that like in practice, knowing that you were being evaluated on a daily basis by Phil and the assistant coaches, and knowing that you could do something in practice that maybe would earn you more minutes than the next guy?
Well, that's one of the things I think also, Mark, because you knew who the starting five was. There was no question about that. So now, as you just talked about, myself and Scott and Stacey, we're fighting for crumbs.
Yeah.
And the practices were our chance to shine because, as you just pointed out, Bill would still practice a lot, but a lot of times, as Stacey could contest, Bill would go through the offensive portion, the defensive walkthrough, get up some shots, but he may not scrimmage. So he would go over to the side and do his rehab and everything, and then that would give us an opportunity, whether it was me in the starting lineup or Stacey playing with the starters or Scott Williams. It was different every day. But the one thing we knew was we would get that opportunity in practice, to get out there and play. And it was kind of, it was ironic. I never looked at it as an individual matchup against any of those guys. I looked at it as, how do I impress Johnny Bach on the defensive end? Nobody knew the answer to this question. How do I impress Tex Winter on the offense?
Yeah, exactly.
As Stacey would say, the only thing I tried not to do in the offense was be a jerk.
Yeah. Just shoot it every time. Just shoot it every time. Yeah, it was tough. I mean, because like you never knew there'd be games where, Phil would come up and say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you some minutes tonight. Be ready." One thing we were always, both, Will, myself, and Scott Williams, we were always ready when our name was called because you never knew when you were gonna get those opportunities. And remember when Phil would give Bill this hiatus, like a week and a half, and say go to Disney World or whatever, and then we'd all have like a celebration, like, okay, we got a whole week, about 10 games where we get a chance to shine. Yeah. And it was really good for us as young players to get out there because sometimes you might lose confidence in yourself because all of us were big-time college players. So you're playing on a team where you have to find your role. And that's very difficult for guys who used to be in the man. Yeah. And in order to be on a championship team, everybody can't be number one. Everybody can't be number two. And we all had to find our niche. We all brought something different to the table to help this team win championships. And sometimes it's very frustrating. There'd be nights where Will would play more than I would. I wouldn't get in, or me and Scott wouldn't get in. There'd be other nights where we would get in and Will wouldn't get in. And it was such a roller coaster mentally. You had to learn how to navigate through that. Because if you didn't, then you were constantly, you were getting anxiety. What am I doing wrong? I got to play harder. And it really wasn't even about that. It was just the situation that the team may be in. He might go against Patrick Ewing. He might go against Brad Daugherty. He has more size than I do. Okay, I might go up against, John Williams, someone more quicker. Scott Williams the same way. It was always matchups or whatever. But it was tough sometimes. Mentally, it was tough.
The funny thing is that you mentioned that. So, you had the starting five. So you had Pax and MJ and Scotty and Horace and Bill, right? So we're all kind of sitting on the bench. Scott Williams, every once in a while, thought he was being smooth when Phil would turn around and go, "Well, get in." And Scott would jump up and I'd look at him and go,
yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
He said Williams, right? And I said, sit down.
Yeah. Said Will. Come on, you know what he meant.
Stacey knows this. Sometimes, Phil would be all the way at half court and he'd turn around and bark something out and everybody'd be looking around. And sometimes, I did the same thing. You'd jump up like you're going to go in the game and Phil would be like, "I wasn't calling you."
Yeah. Yeah. And once you got one of those, you never got up anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Because it'd be embarrassing. Yeah. You'd run all the way to the scores table, take it off your gear, and I wasn't calling you. Like, then you got to go back 25,000 people just saw you just get just shellacked by your coach, and you got to go and sit like a wounded puppy.
Man, that's rough.
Oh yeah, it was. But I tell you what, the one thing I will say is that our practices, the guys in front of us knew they could never have days off because the guys behind them were pushing them. We were hungry. We were young kids hungry. We made practice. Practices were intense. So when we got in games against Utah's, the Lakers, we're playing against the best guys every day. They're giving us their best. Bill Cartwright's giving us his best. Horace giving us his best every night. MJ and Scotty, they're giving us their best. We're giving them our best. But when we get out in the game, we're not intimidated. Most benches are intimidated playing against the starters of other teams. We were never like that. We didn't care who was in front. We go against the best every single day. So there was no intimidation from any guys out there, and that's why we had so much success.
Hey, Will, I got one more for you before we let you go.
Yes, sir.
Your buddy Steve Kerr is taking so much grief over minutes and sitting guys in the Olympic tournament. I think Steve, we know what a good guy Steve is. He's got to be pulling his hair out. You have to sit a guy like Jason Tatum, then you sit Embiid, and this guy's crying about his minutes. He's probably thinking, why in the hell did I take this Olympic thing? This is a nightmare.
Well, I imagine he's probably texted Pop a few times,
Yeah.
screw you for telling me to do this job.
Ah,
But think about this. Steve not only has to answer to the players, but he's probably answering to all those general managers and coaches about how many minutes are you going to play my guy? And, I don't need you to wear my guy out. And he's in a no-win situation,
Yeah.
period. But I think that he's handling it well. And this, Steve Kerr, I'm sure he's been in communication with these guys. He's much like, Stacey talked about. Phil used to talk to us a lot, about constant rotations and how things change. But I imagine these guys know that they're not going to play certain games. And I don't think it bothers them one bit. I think it's just they all want the opportunity to play. The interesting thing would be, and I'll get Stacey's opinion on this. I know what KD has done, and I know how well he has played. But when people have asked me, who do I think played the best on the Olympic team, I got to say LeBron. I mean, to me, he's the MVP of that Olympic team right now. I'm curious what Stacey thinks.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, it seems like he's got youthful, like he's like, he's 10 years younger than what he.
Special sauce.
I don't know, man. You might have called Tom Brady the TV juice. I don't know. I didn't say you hear it from me, but he just looks like he's 10 years younger. He looks like he's out there having fun. He looks like he's trying to prove a point because he gets criticized for so much stuff. When it comes down to the greatest player of all time, I think he politics too much for it instead of just letting the fans and your peers make that determination, by putting the crown on his head and I'm the greatest player because I came back from 3-1 and, I'm the GOAT. And you never heard Michael say things like that. You never heard Wilt Chamberlain say things like that. People will tell you when your career is over, people will tell you where you belong in the GOAT status. You should never have to do that. So yeah. I think he gets such a bad rap because of that. I think he's playing and showing people that, hey, you know what? I'm one of the greatest players. I'm out here with the greatest players right now in the NBA, and I'm standing out, and I'm almost 40 years old.
But why? I'm curious to get your thought on this. I understand guys have egos, but why does it come across, at least from him, as we're being disrespectful if we say he's the second best player of all time?
Well, I think it's an ego thing. I think, in his mind, he feels like he's the greatest player. He feels like no one's talking about it. And I will say this. The reason why a lot of people don't like LeBron is because it's so theatrical. Everything is a show. Just like, you go back to the decision. A lot of his hate came from the decision and the way he handled that situation. And a lot of people have not looked at him the same since. Now, there's other people who have forgotten about it and say, hey, this guy's a great player, yada, yada. But his image took a major hit. And one thing about Michael and Will, and we both played with the guy, Michael was always image conscious. He was always about his image and protecting his images and everything about him. He wouldn't make a stand, whether it be political. He would try to stay away from all those kind of situations that would put him in crosshairs to one certain faction. Oh, he should have said this. And he never got involved in that. LeBron, I will say, is a little bit different. He's a little more outspoken when it comes to politics and situations like that. That kind of separates the two. But I think he puts himself out there too much to the point where he's got people working for him in the news, in the Fox and all that. Oh, LeBron's Nick Wright. Nick Wright is his biggest advocate.
Yeah, he is.
If you listen to Nick Wright's show, that's all he talks about. LeBron. LeBron's the greatest. He's always there. And the numbers, he played longer. He's played longer than Michael. He's been, there's so many things that puts his numbers better than Michael. Okay. But at the end of the day, you still talk about winning championships. The greatest winner is Bill Russell. But no one gives him credit. No one calls him the greatest of all time. He's got 15 rings, and he's not considered the greatest. But as far as players and it's like, what have we done for you lately? A lot of people forgot about MJ until The Last Dance came out, and everybody's like, oh, man, he was pretty good. All the younger generation, the new generation that's been following Kobe and LeBron had an opportunity to see him in The Last Dance and wow, this guy was really good. We heard stories about him, but now we can actually see footage of him whoa, he's really good.
Well, Bill Russell actually was playing against plumbers, like J.J. Redick joked about.
Yeah, he wasn't joking. J.J. Redick, he was dead serious. He wasn't joking. You heard, the late great, the Jerry West, take him to town on that.
Yeah.
He said, what kind of player was he? He wouldn't even be able to guard. He wouldn't even be able to guard those plumbers if he was guard. He couldn't guard anybody in his era. So how's he going to call somebody was a plumber? Yeah. So at the end of the day, LeBron's going to go down as one of the top 3 greatest players of all time. Yeah. Now it'll be subjective to what kind of fan you are of his. If you're a LeBron James fan, he's going to go down as number 1. If you're a Michael Jordan fan, he's going to be number 1. And there's a Kobe faction now that's starting to come in like a tsunami wave now and putting Kobe right up there, not as the greatest player, but behind Michael.
Yeah,
and LeBron,
the top
5
where he wouldn't have been before.
And the fans, I mean, it's just an inflection of people came in now with this the Kobe narrative. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable.
Here's my point on this one. Think about, when did Kobe really start to become popular and change, and the opinion of him changed? Is when, because remember, Kobe went from 8 to 24 because 24 was one better than 23. Yep. And, we saw how Kobe was playing and that move in the post. And then all of a sudden, Kobe just stopped comparing himself to Michael, stopped talking about Michael, and just played the game. And I'm not sure about where that transformation happened. But to me, that's when people just started to learn about Kobe as Kobe, not Kobe, the guy that's trying to be like Michael, that's compared to Michael. Even Kobe stopped talking about it. And to me, it seemed like that's when people really started to appreciate Kobe more than they did when he initially came into the league, because of all the comparisons and the things that he said. As you saw the maturation process, and he just said, you know what? I'm just going to be the best player I can be. You compare me to whoever you want. And he just focused on being a player, and without, him trying to change because, anything, it just kind of felt like it changed on its own. And as you talked about now, it's just the number of people that I feel like weren't Kobe fans back when he played that are now Kobe fans. It's the opinion is the tide has turned as far as, on a majority of what people now think about Kobe Bryant.
I think it changed, honestly, when Shaq and him split up, because now you see Shaq goes to Miami, he wins a championship, and people always thought that Kobe couldn't win one without Shaq. So I think his focus now, instead of trying to be like MJ, it was like, now I got to prove to people that it wasn't Shaq was the reason why we won here in L.A. It was because of me. Now Shaq's gone. I get Pau Gasol. He wanted to be traded. Almost came to Chicago during that time. For Luol, but the Bulls didn't want to give up Luol Deng, and then so he stays in LA, and then you get Pau Gasol, and you get Bynum, and then it's a whole different team, and now he's able to win more championships without Shaq. And then I think that's where it shifted a little bit when people started looking at him differently, like, hey, this kid is really, really good. This is a really good basketball player. And then not to mention, tear your Achilles and then walk back out there and shoot 2 free throws and knock your free throws down and then walk off, go to the locker room. I mean, we saw MJ. We've seen MJ. How many times have we seen MJ come back with a sprained ankle and then come back and drop 30 on someone? That was kind of MJ-esque, type of thing you'd see. So he's the closest thing, Will, that I've ever seen. We've had all these comparisons, and we've been in the league. The next Michael, Harold Miner, LeBradford Smith, all these guys who were like the Michael. Oh, these are the next Michael Jordan. They really weren't the Michael Jordan. Kobe is, if you go back and you look at some of the video of Kobe Bryant and the moves, they mirror each other. He has mirrored Michael's move from the walk to the chewing of the gum to the free throw, the post game. Everything has been basically copied from MJ. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we idolize guys all the time. How many times you been in the gym, Will, as a kid, and you were Dave Cowens or someone, some old NBA player when you were growing up, and you say, I'm Dr. J. We all emulate those guys, and we all try to pattern our games after some of those guys. So there's nothing wrong with it, and he's even admitted it. If it wasn't for MJ, I wouldn't be doing all this stuff. So I got nothing but respect for Kobe because, one, he played on both ends. He competed on both ends. It wasn't just all offense. He went after you defensively. Look at his record. Look at his accolades. All defense like 9 or 10 times, just like MJ.
Will, you've been more than generous with your time. We appreciate you joining us, talking about some of the Bulls offseason moves, and we look forward to seeing you at the Advocate Center for start of training camp, which is coming up in late September. It's almost right around the corner. It's almost here.
No.
It's almost we're getting ready for football. It's almost basketball.
It's like I'm almost at a month and a half left. Oh my gosh. We'll never make it. We're doomed.
Stacey's got to start doing the voice exercises.
That's right.
Oh man, Will, stop it! I'm not doing anything. I'm just relaxing until they make me come in.
I mean, now he's just going to concerts and he's watching Adam Amin do his thing.
Yeah, I gotta go support my boy DJ Adam Amin out there spinning records.
Then he's, then what else what I see on Instagram? Then he's having dinners and
romantic dinners with the girlfriend. You got to keep it happy home.
Yeah, that's right.
Got to keep it happy home, baby. Will,
tough. Stacey King.
Will, I seen you out there on Instagram. Don't be. Where's the dog at? Where's the puppy at?
Megan took her downstairs.
Oh, it was a cute little boxer, America.
Yeah, a new addition to the Perdue household.
That's right.
All right.
And I basically now have a puppy, so I've gone, as I just texted a buddy of mine, I'm back to cleaning up poop.
Yeah. Good luck to you on that one, buddy. It's a job in itself.
It's too bad Whispers isn't here. I'm sure he'd have something to say.
Yeah, he would have something to say. Yeah, Larry the Lobster.
Yeah. All right, Will, thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you at the start of basketball season.
I'm looking forward to it. As I talked about, I mean, as we've actually gotten closer and more people ask, I've actually become more excited about the upcoming season just because of so many of the, and I would say unknowns. We've had unknowns in years past, but the positive unknowns of what could possibly happen and it's not so much team growth, but just personal growth with a lot of players that could make this team really good in the future.
Should be a lot of fun. Coming up next, we'll answer some of your viewer questions and comments and tell you what we've been watching lately. That's next on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Always a good time talking with our buddy Will Purdue, and I didn't want to ask him about the White Sox because he's a big White Sox fan. He goes to a lot of games every year. Sometimes he sits in the owner's suite with Jerry Reinsdorf. Well, I don't think Jerry would love to talk about the White Sox right now because 20 straight losses, 1 shy of the American League record, 3 shy of the all-time modern-day record held by the Philadelphia Phillies. If you're watching on YouTube, we have it posted on the board. And just nothing has gone right. I mean, it's one of those situations where it's like a snowball rolling downhill, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I think when you reach this point, I'm sure you could speak about this, not that you ever had a losing streak like that, but if you start getting those negative thoughts in your head as the losses mount up, it's got to be tough to pull yourself out of that.
Well, what you don't want to do is establish a culture of losing where it's expected. Yeah. This team is not far removed from winning a World Series. So the culture there is a winning organization. I know they've had some tough times in the last few years. A lot of times they had teams that were picked to be, tops in the American League. And then they've had injuries to pitching staff, key members went down, and it kind of derailed their whole season. This is a little bit different. This is like, they just don't have the talent, to compete. And to watch them get beat the way they are, maybe as an organization, you say, let's start getting some of these younger guys up here, see what we got, younger prospects. If we're going to lose, let's lose with give them some guys some major league experience that are ready to come up. Bring some younger guys up and say, let's see what they can do. If we lose 23, 24 games in a row, so be it, but we're looking at our prospects. We're looking for the future. We're looking at see what our shortstop could do, our outfielder. Let them have some at-bats in the major leagues. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, they're already en route to one of the worst seasons in Major League history, and then they traded 6 guys at the deadline, so now you're even more inexperienced. They've called up a young left-hander to pitch the series opener in Oakland tonight, and I think that's one thing you can look at. The next 3 games are against Oakland, also one of the worst teams in baseball, so hopefully they get a win and end this thing.
Yeah, and again, you don't want to establish a culture of losing. And losing, I mean, it's difficult to lose 10 games in a row, but especially in baseball. Like you start getting 20 and 23 and 24, and you're setting records now. You don't want that to be part of who you are as an organization. And I'm sure that behind the scenes, they're doing whatever they can to try to change that up and mix it up. But it looks like, unless they can come through this series here against Oakland, it looks like they may be pushing the record.
And the thing is, if they get swept in Oakland and tie the record, their game on Friday night, it's against the Cubs at guaranteed rate.
Oh, hell no!
The Cubs could give them
and the Cubs stink too.
Yeah, they're not,
but you throw records out though when these two teams meet.
Imagine what the atmosphere would be like at that game.
Man, where's the game at? Where's the game?
It's at guaranteed rate, Southside.
And you imagine the Cubs really trying to push it to them if that streak is if they're able to. Yeah. I think the White Sox are going to win when a game in this Oakland series and stop this.
They're going to win tonight. I
guarantee
it. They got the young lefty coming up from the minor leagues. He's not affected by any of this stuff. He's just flying in. He doesn't have any.
He has nothing to. He has nothing to lose.
I think they're gonna
go out there and just go play hard. And then listen. There's no win one for the Gipper speeches in these certain situations. Okay, all you can do as a manager, because you have to attribute it as a coach. When I coached, I never had a losing streak like this. Then I might only lost like 2 games in a row. Okay, but what you tell your players is like, hey, look, everybody expects us to break this record. Okay. Let's go out there and have some fun. Put all the other side stuff to the side. Don't worry about tomorrow. Worry about tonight. Let's go out here and bust our ass. Let's our pitcher. Hey, look, we got your back. Throw strikes. Let's get these guys out. Hitters, get up there and be disciplined. Swing away. Have some fun. Let's generate some runs. Let's break this streak. And hey, dinner on me.
Yeah, let's hope the streak ends tonight for the White Sox.
Please.
It's been a long, painful.
Oh, Lord.
Got a couple of questions from our audience. Bajak Brown Media Studio says he wanted to get Will's thoughts on this as well, but Will is gone for now. How would you and Will Purdue adjust to playing as modern centers and big men in today's game? Because now they expect you to shoot threes, go out 30 feet from the bucket, and switch on pick and rolls.
First of all, Mark,
Mark, let
me tell you something, Mark. Let me tell you something. I would have like fluidly transitioned perfectly.
Yeah.
Because I could play on the outside. I could switch and guard guards. If you go back and watch film, that's how we play defense. We trap guards, and you had to be able to slide, 3 to 4 slides to stay in front of guards like Isaiah and John Stockton. So I would have been able to do it. And I was shooting threes, even though they were at the end of the games. I was casting up threes. I would have made myself a 3-point shooter. Yeah. But I think the transition would have been easier for me, more so than Will, because right. Will was a back to the basket guy, and he was known for rebounding and shot blocking. I think he would be able to transition on that part of the rebounding, because he was a hell of a rebounder and the shot blocker. I don't know if Will would have been a 3-point shooter, but I think he would have been a face up pick and pop guy that could go from 15 to 18 feet. Not so much the 3, but I think he would be really good at the 15, 18 foot range.
And for people who don't remember, there were times where the Bulls would do full court pressure, and it was you and Horace that
always
were at the point of that.
Always at the head of the trap. Yeah. And we would trap full court. Phil would give me license to trap anytime. He wouldn't even call it. If we were shooting a free throw, he'd whistle, Stacey, and then I'd be like, got you. Yeah. And then I'd go right on the ball, and I just do a full court trap up the floor with no one even asked me to do it except for Phil. So
the defensive pressure of those 90s Bulls.
Oh, full court pressure. Yeah. Well, you don't see teams nowadays, Mark. No one picks up full court. Mm-hmm. I was just talking to somebody about Steph Curry. If I was coaching against Steph Curry, or any of these guards that want to take a rest, walking the ball up the floor, there's no way in hell I would let that guy have a break. I would have a guy pressuring him full court the whole entire time, and then you might not slow him down in the first couple quarters. But by the fourth quarter, his legs are going to be worn out, and he's not going to be able to knock down some of those open threes. And if you do that and he's missing shots in the fourth quarter, you did your job.
Yeah, no question about it. From @BlackDaylight, he's got a hot take. He's still picking Javonte Green over Patrick Williams. Cheaper contract, more confidence, plus trading him to be good somewhere else would help the Cooper flag hunt. So he's thinking big picture, trying to win the lottery to get Cooper flag. I know we're both Javonte Green fans, but right now with the numbers, I don't see where they could bring him back.
No, and with the way they're doing it right now is that they're trying to get bigger at the guard spot. Javonte Green is one of my favorites. He'll always be one of my favorites, and I always would want him out there on the floor. But if he's out on the floor, that means Patrick Williams is not doing what he's supposed to be doing. If he's getting a lot of minutes at that 4 position, that means either Patrick Williams is hurt or he's not reaching his potential. Patrick needs to grow this year. This has to be a huge year for Patrick Williams because he just got the contract. So now he doesn't have to worry about getting paid and all that stuff. So now you just got to go out there and just play. If he goes out and does what he's supposed to do and plays like I feel like he's capable of playing, I think it's going to be the Bulls' future is bright. But if he comes out this year and doesn't play with the confidence, up and down, you're going in year 5 now for him. So there should be no more up and down now.
Right.
The DeMar's gone now. I still think he's a natural 3, in my opinion. I still think he's a natural 3 playing out of position at the 4. But I'm like this, wherever the minutes are, I don't really care where you play me. If you're going to give me 35 minutes at the 4 and I was only going to get 12 minutes at the 3, I'm going to play the 4. So wherever the minutes are marked, I'm going to make the most of it. So he's just got to come out and be aggressive, and hopefully he takes the leap that we saw Kobe take. Dalen Terry takes the leap. Ayo takes leaps this year. If those guys take leaps, the Bulls' future is bright.
Timmy Whispers isn't here today, but thankfully he's actually doing some of his work as our designated hot sauce packer. We had our buddy Ricky O'Donnell on the show a couple of times, and he finally received his shipment of Stacey's signature hot sauces, and he posted on X that Stacey gave him the hot sauce. He was very happy about that, and kudos to Ricky. He came on to help us analyze the draft, and he did a great job. So I'm happy to.
Well, Mark, we don't want to look like Indian givers, okay? Right. We always talk about the guests coming on our show, and when you come on our show, we're going to give you some of my signature hot sauce. So we've had a few guests that have not received their hot sauce. Like,
it's all Whisper's fault.
Yeah, it's all Whisper's fault. I could be out somewhere and one of the players coming, hey, Stacey, I didn't get my hot sauce. Yeah. Really, you didn't? Steve Smith, the former Michigan State great. Yep. He said, hey, we don't get my hot sauce. We don't get my hot sauce. So the packer is not necessarily packing like he should be packing. So we honor our giveaways. Anytime we promise you hot sauce, America, we'll get you hot sauce. And you know what? If you don't get it, get it like right now, you can always go get it on the website. Are you looking to score the hottest sauce in the game? Well, you're in luck. We got all the sauces your kitchen needs, from Chicago Fire 1871 to the hottest of the bunch to our king's favorite, St. Pat's Verde. Give the hot sauce as you covered. Stop by GimmeTheHotSauce.com, and that's where you can go right there. GimmeTheHotSauce.com and use the code KING21 to get 21% off your first order, okay? And we got all the flavors there. So, and we will be in Mariano's very, very soon. Shout out to Mariano's for believing in us, for trusting us. That's right. We had to do like this little presentation like Shark Tank. I feel like I was on Shark Tank, Mark. And you know what? We knocked it out the park. Yeah, me and Whispers. Whisper didn't really have to say anything. He let me do the show. Just let me do all the talking, and it was all me. Whisper like
Whisper's display stand.
Yeah, Whisper had the display stand.
Yeah, you can see over it, yeah.
And so as you can see right above my shoulder, and we brought that in. They really loved that. Yeah. Not a cheap little box. It holds like 60 bottles. Really good. So it was a lot of fun, and we got to meet a lot of people. There was a lot of people coming in trying to make pitches for Mariano. I did not know that they had that many people trying to get their products in Mariano's. I didn't even know the process of that. And there was like 60, 65 people that came in and, made their pitches. Some got in, some didn't. We were lucky to get in.
They cater to a highbrow audience,
They do. And And, the hot sauce is high quality and it's gourmet. And it's, like I said, it's some of the best tasting hot sauce you'll taste. But at the same time, you're competing against so many other, companies and people. You just never know. You just hope you're able to get in. You hope that they like what you're selling. And thank goodness they taste it. They do the taste test in front of you. They're putting it on chips and bread and stuff. And not one person in there, they were like, this is some of the best hot sauce I ever tasted. So take it from me, America. Coming to Mariano's, baby.
Near you. We usually wrap things up by telling you what we've been watching. I'm looking forward to seeing the premiere of the Bears on Hard Knocks. That's coming up tomorrow night. But until then, I watch a lot of murder mysteries and stuff. So I thought I'd look for a little comedy. Watched a series on Netflix called Unstable. Stars Rob Lowe and his son. Rob Lowe plays an eccentric inventor, and he wants to groom his son to take over. But as you can see by the photo, Rob's a little bit off his rocker. So that's kind of the premise behind the whole thing.
Well, I'm looking at Presumed Innocent. I'm getting to the end of that.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm getting to the end of that, and I'm telling you right now, boy, it's really good. It's a really good show. It has you guessing. You think you know, but you don't really know. And I like those kind of things because it keeps you on your toes. And just the whole thing. I mean, this guy was a hotshot lawyer, and all of a sudden now his whole world's turned upside down, and he's caught up in some freaky stuff, and so he's got to prove his innocence, and everybody thinks he's guilty. Yeah. Everybody's turned on him. All his friends are turned on him, and it's a great show. It's on Apple. If you got Apple, make sure you check it out. Presumed Innocent with Jake Gyllenhaal.
I watched that. I really enjoyed it.
It's awesome.
And the end is fantastic. It's based on a book, actually, but there was a movie made with Harrison Ford like 30 years ago.
I thought that was what that was. Yeah. I thought it was the Harrison. Somebody said, no, it's not the same movie.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm a movie connoisseur. I swear I thought that was the same movie, but a remake. But no, I got like laughed out of the house on that one. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Well, we found out over the last week that Donald Trump doesn't like Bruce Springsteen, but we know Mike likes Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yes. Oh, Money Mike. Oh, Mike Amaroff. I'm going to tell you something, America. When you talk about fans, when you're a fan of whatever group, whatever, this is the biggest Bruce Springsteen fan
all over the world
I've ever seen. Like he's been to like all these concerts. I mean, wherever Bruce has been in Europe, it doesn't matter. Asia, it doesn't matter. He'll go to all these concerts, and it's amazing. Like I've never seen a fan like that, like Mike Amaroff. Mike Amaroff's a true fan. Mike hurt his back in London when Bruce Springsteen was in London. He was going to play at Wembley. And then, Mike was going to be there, and he was all excited. And then he got a bad back injury. And, I guess
with the Doublemint twins?
No, that's when picking up somebody that weighed more than he did. Okay, Mike weighs 135 pounds, America, and he went up and tried to get somebody 170, and he wasn't ready for that. Okay, and his back went out on him. He tried to do some freaky stuff in a hotel in London. Okay, and he had to come back. They had to tie him to a gurney in the back of the plane because he couldn't move. So now he's healthy again, and he loves Bruce Springsteen. He was just telling me in the car today that Bruce Springsteen and U2, the Bono and Edge was on Steven Spielberg's yacht. They always go on their yacht during their downtime. And I was like, wow, that has to be an amazing conversation. You have these guys on. Think about that. Yeah, you got Springsteen, and you got Bono and Edge, and then you got the movie director. Like, what is he doing in there? Like these are rockers. What is he doing in there? But it's his yacht. That's right. And they go down there on their downtime. That's got to be a lot of fun. I need to call Bruce Springsteen and see if we can get on.
And you need a limo to the airport.
And you need a limo to the airport. Yeah. America. Windy City Limousine provides championship service. Making a reservation is so easy. It's a slam dunk. Let Windy City break the full court pressure of traffic and get you to your destination in style and on time. Contact them at 847-916-9300. That's 847-916-9300. Or go to WindyCityLimos.com. They have everything you need, from party buses to SUVs to sedans, whatever you need. It's the best limousine service in Chicago. I've been using them now for about 5 years. They make sure they take care of me anywhere I need to go, any day of the week I need to go. I use Windy City. If you see me at any event, I'm in a Windy City limo.
And look for Mike. He's somewhere in the
He's somewhere around. He's my bodyguard. He's a 5th degree Taekwondo belt. He's got a black belt in Taekwondo.
Hey, we want to thank our great crew. Cisco doing yeoman duty, kind of taking care of everything.
This guy, we've watched this guy grow up from making 10 mistakes a night to not making mistakes at all. Cisco now has moved over. We're missing D. He had some baby issues.
Baby's been crying all day.
Little Mateo's been crying all day, so he had to be a dad. So we switched over to Cisco, plan B. Cisco loves to be in that lead chair because he likes to boss people around, tell me to save it for the show when I'm talking to the guests. He's a bully, America. He's quiet when D's here, but when he's not here, he's a bully. And then our good man Nick. Nick, oh man, Nick is the best social media guy. Nick does all our social media on Twitter, on X. He does all our stuff. Instagram. He answers all you guys' questions. He picks out the best questions. He sends them to us. So we got a good team working for us, and we got to find out who keeps ordering this damn pizza with green nastiness on there. And I'm telling you, next time I get a pizza with green on it, somebody gonna be looking for another job. I don't know who it's gonna be. It ain't gonna be me, but somebody gonna be looking for another job. Bring me some more olives on the pizza again and see what happens. Let's see what happens, America. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Don't give me no pizza with no olives. And if it's gonna be olives, give me black olives.
So a brand new episode with fresh pizza coming next week on Gimme the Hot Sauce. Until then, Chicago, America.
Drive home safely, America. Beep, beep. Hey, what's up? This is Stacey King.
And I'm Timmy Whispers
of Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast. Each week, make sure you join us. Timmy Whispers, what do they need to hit?
They need to hit like and subscribe so they get all the notifications and news from our podcast.
That boy is sweet. Just make sure when the video's over, click to the left, and you'll hear our previous videos for the previous week and have some fun, because we'd love to have fun on Gimme the Hot Sauce podcast.
Woohoo!
Oh, my goodness! It's only preseason, but I'm hyped, Neil.